Good morning, and welcome to worship this morning to all of you, near and far, online and offline. It's so good to see your wonderful faces. Thank you for coming. I understand we are following up a wonderful evening of fellowship on Friday night where corned beef and something called colcannon was eaten in the hall. We were entertained with the dulcet tones of Mervyn Russell, and I think there were even games. Were there not, Sue?
Pardon?
There were games. You know? Trivia games.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Oh, yes, she says. Oh, yes. Anyways, it's lovely to see you all. This afternoon, or this morning after worship, you can go to Lusk Hall for green cupcakes and warm beverages and hospitality, which is courtesy of our trustees. The scrolling announcements will be on the screen again just after the service, and they're also in your Friday email. If any of you are not getting the Friday email, please email the office. Our website is on the screen, very easy to find, and Tammy will get you on the mailing list. It is an auspicious day. It is St. Patrick's Day, a day for all things green, including beer. My mother-in-law's birthday, who has sadly passed on, and it's also been exactly 4 years since we started live streaming services here at St. John's. It seems like so much longer ago. Some things have changed. For example, we no longer pass the plate on Sunday morning. How many of you remember having the plate passed? Yeah, we stopped doing that during COVID for a couple of reasons. First of all, there was nobody in the pews. And then secondly, when people came back to the pews, we didn't want to spread germs by passing plates and passing the peace and that kind of stuff. So if you're not on par and you feel so inclined to make a donation to the church, we would gratefully accept it. As you know, we provide worship, we provide fellowship, and we provide assistance to those in need, not only in our local community, but beyond. There's an offering plate here in the front. There's another one in the back. There are envelopes, and we thank you very much for your contributions. Hang on, I gotta check my grocery list here. Maundy Thursday, actually next Sunday is Palm Sunday, and the week following we have a service on Thursday, Maundy Thursday service at 7 o'clock. We will be meeting in Lusk Hall for an informal time of worship. Friday is Good Friday, worship here at 10:30, and then on Easter Sunday, 10:30 again as well in the sanctuary. I invite Ross to come and light the Christ candle. Let us prepare our hearts for worship as Ross lights the candle of peace, the candle of Christ, Christ among us.
Well, top of the morning to you.
And to you.
I invite you to join with me in our responsive call to worship, which you will find on the screen this morning. Like those who came searching for the one of whom they had heard, like seeds of time scattered throughout all the universe, come, let us search for God together. I invite you to join in our opening hymn this morning, number 415. God, we praise you for the morning, verses 1 through 5. be seated. And as we gather on this beautiful March morning, let us also gather our hearts, the very essence of who we are as people of God, in prayer. Let us pray. We have come to this holy place today, O God, because your love continues to invite us to do so. We come bringing our joys and sorrows, our questions and certainties, our successes and challenges. And so in our time together worshiping as your faithful community, we ask that you awaken our sense to perceive your reality around us. Illuminate our path as we continue upon this Lenten journey, and guide us and bless us with your great love now and always. Yet, God, we confess that it is far easier to cast you aside than follow your call. We struggle with the concepts of modern thought and science that inform us of the very nature of life that was never imagined by your earliest followers. We wrestle with attempting to find meaning in the ancient biblical stories of faith when we have such a different understanding of the universe of which we live. And so forgive us for doubting the wisdom of our ancestors of faith. Teach us by your Spirit to let go of our agendas and assumptions, and help us to let go of our self-righteousness. Give us the strength and courage to try new things. Encourage us, even push us, to let go of ourselves so that we might fully embrace you. We pray these things in the name of Christ Jesus. Amen. Well, the God who challenges us is also the God who continually encourages us. The God who confronts us also is the God who accepts us. And so today, let us be assured that God is with us even now, accepting, guiding, and forgiving. Thanks be to God. Amen.
Reading from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 31, verses 31 to 34. The days are surely coming, says the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. It will not be like the covenant that I made with their ancestors when I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, a covenant that they broke, though I was their husband, says the Lord. But this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, says the Lord. I will put my law within them, and I will write it on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. No longer shall they teach one another, or say to each other, know the Lord, for they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest, says the Lord. For I will forgive their iniquity and remember their sins no more. From the book of John, chapter 12, verses 20 to 33. Now, among those who went up to worship at the festival were some Greeks. They came to Philip, who was from Bethsaida in Galilee, and said to him, Sir, we wish to see Jesus. Philip went and told Andrew. Then Andrew and Philip went and told Jesus. Jesus answered them, The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Very truly, I tell you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains just a single grain. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. Those who love their life lose it, and those who hate their life in this world will keep it for eternal life. Whoever serves me must follow me, and where I am, there will my servant be also. Whoever serves me, the Father will honor. Now my soul is troubled, and what should I say? Father, save me from this hour? No, it is for this reason that I have come to this hour. Father, glorify your name. Then a voice came from heaven. I have glorified it, and I will glorify it again. The crowd standing there heard it, and said that it was thunder. Others said, an angel has spoken to him. Jesus answered, this voice has come for your sake, not for mine. Now is the judgment of this world. Now the ruler of this world will be driven out, and I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself. He said this to indicate the kind of death he was to die. Through these words, God's voice is heard. Thanks be to God.
just want to take a moment. Choir, that was absolutely stunning. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you. I might as well not preach now because everybody's going to remember what you sang as opposed to whatever I preach. But thank you. That was absolutely stunning. Well, today is St. Patrick's Day. And I remember my introduction to Irish culture happened as a little boy. Usually on Saturday mornings at about 7 a.m., sitting in front of the television, watching Bugs Bunny, unfortunately eating cornflakes. Because what I really wanted to eat was Lucky Charms. You ever heard of Lucky Charms, the breakfast cereal? My introduction to Irish culture came on those Saturday mornings, wishing I was eating Lucky Charms rather than cornflakes, because there was the leprechaun named Lucky. And Lucky was always searching for something. Lucky wanted to find that pot at the end of the rainbow, and every new Lucky Charms commercial that came out, Lucky would always be on the cusp of finding that pot at the end of the rainbow, but he would get delayed or sidetracked because all those kids were stealing his Lucky Charms. Lucky Charms were little colored marshmallows. Marshmallows. Breakfast cereal. Can't imagine it today. But Lucky could never find ultimately what he was looking for. Our reading from the Gospel of John this morning is completely out of context. John, in his very wordy way, begins to tell us a story, and those who put together the 3-year lectionary reading cycle have this reading prior to Palm Sunday, which makes absolutely no sense because Jesus has already triumphantly entered into Jerusalem. And all kinds of things have happened. And so we get that story next week. But we jump ahead from Palm Sunday, 3 or 4 days. Well, probably this is Wednesday of Holy Week, if not Thursday morning. John recounts this time when a couple of Greeks, probably converted to Judaism, they'd come to seek out Jesus. They had heard about him. They were looking for something. Though, of course, John never tells us what exactly it was that they were looking for. Because, as I had already mentioned, Jesus has already made his triumphal entry into Jerusalem. He's already been to the temple where he's taught and performed miracles. All this time, he's surrounded by crowds. On that first day, cheering and laying down palm branches and cloaks, "Hail the King of the Jews." Each day after, the atmosphere of the city getting a little bit more and a little bit more tense. But as Jesus is still making the rounds, people are pressing to hear what it is that he is saying. Others wish him to perform some kind of healing, and so they attempt to push through the crowds to get to near him, where they hope to get his attention because they want something. They're looking for something. And along with many Jewish pilgrims, there are a number of Greeks that have come to Jerusalem to worship during the Passover. And while there, they hear all about this Jesus and what he had been doing in recent days. Maybe they'd even heard about what he had done prior to his coming to Jerusalem, like the healing of the man who was born blind. They most certainly would have heard that Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. Some may have even seen or known Lazarus themselves. They must have wondered if Jesus truly was what everybody was talking about. The great liberator, the agent of God, the Messiah, God with us. Most of all, they surely would have wanted to hear from him directly concerning what kind of relationship that they might have within this new reality that is being promised to them. And so they approach Philip and they request a meeting with Jesus. Philip wasn't quite sure how to handle all this. And so Philip goes and talks to Andrew. And so the two of them, they must have pressed their way through the crowds back to Jesus' side, and then they whisper into his ear, "There are some Greeks here who would like to talk to you." Well, what would be the rational response from Jesus? "Sorry, boys, I don't have enough time right now. Look at all these people around me wanting something from me." He doesn't respond by saying to Philip and Andrew, "Okay, give me a few minutes. Come and find me over here so these Greeks can ask what they want to ask." No, Jesus seems absolutely intent on ignoring this request to meet these two men, and responds with something completely different altogether. It's like a change of subject. It's the turning of the page. It's not even acknowledging the existence and the humanity of these two Greeks. Two Greeks want to come and see you, Jesus. But the hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified, Jesus says. Talk about a letdown. Talk about feeling completely and utterly ignored by someone who is not only a part of who you are as humanity, but is also filled and a part of God divine. I mean, time and again, you and I can recount experience upon experience with others where we have been let down or felt completely ignored. Moments when we have been searching or striving towards something, and that something never happens, is never acknowledged, is never realized, or it doesn't even appear. And I know how we all feel when that happens. I remember a woman I went to visit a number of years ago in Toronto. Her name was Lucy. Lucy didn't come to church. In fact, I can't even remember how I met Lucy or got in contact with Lucy. It was probably a friend through a friend through a friend. And this woman, Lucy, wanted me to come and visit, and so I went to visit. And Lucy began to tell me her story. She was a teenager in occupied Poland during the Second World War. She was taken and put into a forced labor camp, and I think all kinds of other stuff, unspeakable things happened to her as a teenager under occupation. But following the war, she emigrated to Canada to begin a new life. A new life with new possibility, filled with a new hope. She was searching to make her mark and to ensure that she never had to live through what she had experienced as a child and as a teenager in Poland. She worked and worked and worked to become completely and utterly financially independent from anyone or anything. It was almost her mantra that if she could be financially independent, if she did not have to rely on anyone, if she could build resources and build resources so she never would have to worry again, then she would be content. She worked time and again to claim her independence as an individual. So much so that even having a daughter and a husband, her own independence became more important to her than building relationships with those who were closest to her. She wanted to discover the fountain of youth. Another aspect of who she was is she would eat nothing that was not purely organic. She took every supplement. She researched, she learned, she took courses about nutrition, about how she could feed her body so that nothing could take her body apart. But of course, when I met her, she'd just been diagnosed with cancer. And sitting with her and learning a little bit about her story, she was absolutely adamant that she was going to research this. She was going to work harder and do better to look after herself, and had an attitude where this thing that was approaching in life was never going to defeat her. It was only hours before her death, as I was sitting beside her bed. She said to me, "I've been searching for these things all my life, Stephen, and I have never found them. What have I done?" And not only that, this morning I woke up and I wanted to search for Jesus. But I can't find him anywhere. Lucy in her most desperate hour of need began to negotiate with God. If I do this, then you will do this. If I do this right, God, then you'll look after me over here. It's much like being a teenager and playing hockey in Saskatchewan, and I remember playing in tight games. For those of you that don't know, I was a goalie growing up. I still play goal today. But I remember those teenage years being in very tight games, the atmosphere absolutely being electric, and I would sit there as the puck was down at the other end of the ice, and I would pray. Jesus, I promise I will not swear again during this game if you just let us win. And I'd say that over and over. Jesus, I promise I won't swear again, not even in my head, if you'll just let us win. That's negotiating with God. The problem is sometimes it worked, but I don't think Jesus had anything to do with it. There are some traditions within our midst where the basis of inclusion into the doctrine of that community of personal salvation tells you that you will find what you are looking for if you want, if you need, if you desire A, B, and C, then God and Christ will reward you with D, E, and F. All you have to do is be saved. It's negotiating with God. You see, the Greeks were not given absolutely anything by making that request to go see Jesus. We're not even told if Andrew and Philip even went back to let them know that Jesus wasn't even going to see them. Instead, Jesus responds to the request brought by Philip and Andrew with something completely and entirely off topic. The hour is come for the Son of Man to be glorified. For very truly, unless a kernel of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. Anyone who loves their life will lose it, while anyone who hates their life in this world will keep it for eternal life. Whoever serves me must follow me, and where I am, my servant also will be. What about these two Greeks? I mean, sometimes we respond in ways that completely don't make any sense whatsoever. A young man came to see me one time, was jumped outside of a bar, face all swollen, jaw wired shut. He came to see me only after he had seen somebody else and somebody else and somebody else, and every time he went to someone who claimed to be a leader or in a position of leadership in a congregation or in a church, was told no. Ultimately told no because if he was going to receive the help that he needed, he had to do A, B, and C first. And when he came to me, it was simply, what do you need? How can we be here for you? No conditions, no anything else. Because to do anything else, whether we as a congregation or as members of a congregation or those who lead in congregations, is to place conditions upon whether someone is given access to which we have the opportunity to offer as God's people. So what is it as the congregation of St. John's United Church that we are really looking for? Have we still not found what it is that we are looking for? Are we looking for that pot at the end of the rainbow? Are we searching for Jesus? Never fully aware that Jesus has already been found in our midst. You see, faith and discipleship can never be transactional in any kind of way. Loving God, neighbor, and self does not guarantee a personal return for something longed for. But in the act of intentionally living out these words, we offer what God, Christ, and Spirit call upon us to share. And the most important gift that we have to share with this world is simply to look into the eyes of another. To look into the face of another. And see the eyes of Christ staring back at us. And then maybe we will know that we have been found. Thanks be to God. Amen.
You will trust in God.
Well, unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground and takes new life, it remains just a single grain. And so, with grateful hearts, with joy, in hope and anticipation, let us bring the fruit of our lives to God so that it may, in fact, transform and be present in the lives of others. Let us pray. O God, as we joyfully give, great blessings receive. In thanksgiving we live when we say we believe. And so let us sing with joy and thanksgiving as we bring our gifts to the world. To the one who has given, we give in return. Let us bring our gifts to the world. For we offer this in the name of the greatest gift of which you have shared with all, Jesus Christ. Amen. O God, your faithful love surrounds us, and we give you thanks for the gift of life and for the gift of new life, and for the many ways that you sustain and continue to nurture us. We come before you this day, some of us tired and hungry, looking for your word to sustain us, your spirit to comfort us. Some of us come bruised and sore, looking for healing, longing for wholeness. Some of us come despairing, wondering what has happened and where the joy of life has gone. Some come with heavy hearts, praying for young people harmed by those who should protect. Praying for those who look different and are so suspect. Praying for a world on edge, tense with fear and hate and violence. We come looking for good news in the midst of all the bad news. We come seeking forgiveness for our wrongs, seeking to know your presence when we feel so alone, seeking to know your heart and your will for a world so much in need. And so we'll take a couple of quiet moments, O God, to offer you what is upon our hearts. And in doing so, we listen for yours. O God, let your joy-filled rays shine down upon us. May we be surrounded by your love, your peace, and your hope. Open our eyes and our hearts to see you in all of the unexpected places, and guide our hands to show your love. For you are the God that is full of surprises, a God that longs for peace, a God who offers hope, and one of unconditional love. And so fill us with your Spirit that we may widen the circle until all the world knows your grace. On this day we praise these and all things in the name of Jesus Christ, who taught us to pray together. Our hymn of going forward this day, number 420, Go to the World, number 420. And so let us go with God and go in peace and go with blessings that never cease, with the assurance that love will indeed heal, and as we live life in God's light revealed. So go in the love of God, peace of Christ, and empowerment of the Holy Spirit. Amen.